Done our dough, chaps. We've done our dough.
Welcome back to another edition of Odds, the racing and betting podcast. Week 14 is upon us, Underwood Stakes Day at Caulfield. What a great time it's going to be. So, looking at last week, it ended up being a really good day on the races. We had about an $88 return for our 50, which was pretty excellent. I think conditions favoured us. I could sort of tell it was a day that was going well, so it could have probably even been a bit more enhanced with a bit more thought, but we are not unhappy in the slightest. And the football was very close. So 5 legs. Giant Newcomb covered the 25 disposals easily. Wines covered 20 fairly easily. Chol got that unexpected goal. Georgiades, we needed him for 1, he got 3. And it was just Massimo D'Ambrosio needed 25, but only got about 18. So that 20 would have been 155 return, but not to be. Poor choice by me with Ambrosio. Could have just gone with Georgiades for 2 goals and Newcomb for 25 and probably would have got the same sort of odds. So we take the bonus bets into this week. And then recapping the races. So first race, some of those outsiders like Sir Sway, So Glamorous, Zurian, No Good, was a big box Quinella for 5 or 6 horses. One of them was Moby Dick, which we had, just didn't have seconds, didn't have any win bets on Moby Dick. Second race, Detroit City was okay. So it was a mistake to do So Milano, probably just not the right track or race for that horse in hindsight, but at the time, great name and I liked it. Race 3 was great. We got Bellatrix Star at $19. Looking at that too, that was a phenomenal ride from Michael D. He just sat in the right spot and pushed the button at the exact perfect time. So that ride really takes a lot of credit for that win. I think if they run that race again and that horse is in a different position, it would be a different result. To be or not to be was good for a placing. We got the Quinella and the trifecta there, which was fantastic. And Symphony of Colours was close up running 4th. It actually might have been a different race because we were close where we could have even had a first 4. Might have been a different one, but that was close up at 25-1. So that was good. Growing Empire is the real deal. I've been this naysayer for the past few weeks being like, oh, it's going to lose or it's too short. No, it's genuinely very, very good. And I was very wrong. So I think we made $2 out of that with the win bets. That was a nice little moral victory. Point King, very good win in a race that just wasn't, it was bereft of a bit of quality, and that took it. Conditions favoured. Happy to get a win there. Grinzinger Bell was a real missed opportunity. Looking back at the form, I really overlooked how good the races it had been running in were, and the drop in quality it was seeing last Saturday, and the fact that they just beeline from that wide barrier straight to the lead to have no excuses, and that they just wrapped that race up easily. It just made it so obvious that was the horse to bet on. So we all miss things, and I just missed that by betting on Vagrants and Foxy Cleopatra and all these other things. That was just a missed opportunity. And we had that in the Quinella, and Alsafina looked so safe for second that whole way down the straight, and then just got pipped by the horse that I didn't like, See You in Heaven. So that was a missed one. As mentioned before, Brightside was amazing. It was really set up for him. Like Via Justina was under the odds. Pride of Jenny was always going to run better after that poor run on paper, but it just wasn't a leader's track that day. So you were getting amazing odds for Pride of Jenny. Brightside was inflated at 370 for such a consistent horse. Via Justina was pretty crazy at the 240, 260. So happy to get the trifecta exacted there. Win bets on Brightside. Fantastic times. Sydney, actually, just finishing off at Melbourne, I was very keen on Stretton Angel and just so wrong. I should have just subbed it out for Skybird and been done with it. But no, I was happy at the time to be all on Stretton and didn't do anything. So Sydney, I really liked Silent Side just because of the name and a bit of the form, and that was just a great win. So $11 from there. So that contributed to the 87.96 that we got back. Fantastic day. Looking at the overall stats, so overall on the races after 13 weeks, for a $650 outlay, we've returned $850, so we're $200 up in cash, and on the football, which is also included a little bit of NRL, We've outlaid 260, we've got back about 322. So $63 up there, $200 up on the races, overall $263 up in cash. And we're looking at a percentage return overall across those two mediums of 29%, which I'm pretty surprised that we're doing that well. Bonus bets really can turbocharge your performance. So we were at that position in about week 8 at about that 28-29%. Since then we went up. We were at about 35 for a while, and then it's gradually come down. Just haven't capitalized on the football recently. A lot of $20 losses, and also we had a few weeks there where we were getting back, say 38 or 28 on the racing. So it's come down to 29. Still really good. The spring is really, I mean, this will be a pretty big but not crazy weekend. Then there'll be the grand final weekend lull, and then it's just high octane Turnbull Stakes, Caulfield Guineas, Caulfield Cup, and so on and so forth. So they can often be tough days where horses come in under a bit of, I don't know, the form's a bit disguised, or the fields are big and it's just hard, or you just like something especially and you get carried away by emotions. So there can be some tough race days coming up, but usually, well, for the last 5 years, there's been a fair share of winners in there, and it hasn't been too much of a downturn. I think in the maybe 10, 15 years ago, I would really struggle on the sort of Melbourne Cup days and just get lost in the form. But there really is a bit of a pattern that emerges. Like on Melbourne Cup Day, it's a sort of a funny sort of horse that wins. You'll get a lot of horses nominating for that Melbourne Cup Day, apart from the Melbourne Cup, just for those races that just haven't got a lot of form, that don't seem to have raced in any other of the major days, that have sort of come from, I don't know where, from the country or from just lesser restricted grades, and it can be a real melting pot, and it can be hard to predict. So we'll sort of come back to that once that day is approaching. Caulfield Cup and Cox Plate are a bit more straightforward. The form sort of tends to matter, and yeah, anyway, that's just going off on a tangent. So we'll come back to that, but let's focus on what's ahead of us. Caulfield on Saturday, Underwood Stakes Day. So getting into race 1. This is an interesting race in terms of where they're going to position themselves. 2,000 meters, restricted gate 78. A lot of these horses are going to go back. So Truly Inspired, Gold Wolf, Convener, Pesto, Corona Lad, Whiskey on the Hill. There's a lot of backmarkers in this race. Quantum Cat's the favourite. Look, it has got good form. It was a good third behind Lording and Lincoln Rocks. And Barrier 1, it'll have a good chance of getting a good position. And Joe Moreira riding, what more could you actually want in this world? I just feel like it's a bit of a non-winner. It battled a little bit in some of those runs. Not really battled, like it was close up, but you need to have that little extra edge to win. So I don't know if I'd be taking the 340. In saying that, it's not a really like obvious race of what else to take. So Denmark will probably roll forward from barrier 13 and take up a decent position. That looks like a really good staying horse in general, even though it hasn't raced in sort of high class races. Just the way that it runs, it looks like it'll be going on to bigger and better things in a sense. So that's something to watch out for. Cicino, I still like. I think that its 2 runs have been okay this prep, but if you look back at that form in, I think it's England, I was watching the race replays just before. Its form is pretty good. It's got a 3 kilo claim here. It will turn the corner at some point and put in a really good performance. I don't know if it'll be here at Caulfield, because a lot of these horses that are internationals, that are from France, that are from England, they love those big straights, long straights. They love room, and Caulfield has not got room. So I'm really reluctant to take a lot of these horses at Caulfield. It could just be superstitious nonsense, but that's just how I feel sometimes with these sort of internationals. So I'll be watching that and having something on each way. I don't know whether it's the ideal conditions for it. Gold Wolf is something I want to talk about. Now that, when it won at Caulfield, where it came from about 10th and it made up that stack of ground, I keep watching that replay, and that, I think in about 2 years' time, this will be a really, really good long distance horse. And I'm sort of the opinion that I want to bet on it all the time, just because I don't want to miss it when it wins at 30-1. And mark my words, it will win at a big price at some stage. So I'm just going to back that pretty much ad nauseum anywhere it goes. And it's going to be 30-1 tomorrow. Again, it's probably going to go back. There probably won't be a lot of speed in this race. I can't really see that it's going to do the same thing and make up that ground. And I think it does want wet. And I mean, this is Thursday. It's rained a little bit, but I don't know if it's going to get the slow heavy that it probably wants. It hasn't run on heavy before, but certainly it was good that day on the slow. It made up so much ground. If you watch it, it's being hard ridden, urged along around the turn. It just makes up a stack of ground in the straight. It's really phenomenal. So I think there's a bright future definitely for Gold Wolf. Convener will go back. I think that was just a beneficiary of circumstance last time. That turned into a really tough stamina sort of race, and it's certainly a tough horse, but I wouldn't want to be banking on that happening every time. Like, I don't think that horse has got any acceleration to speak of. So yeah, I'll be leaving that. Aruga Mama, decent odds. It could run into a placing or it could win, who knows, but there's just a bunch of these that there's value there, but like, will they win? So Aruga Mama's in that category. Maximilian Caesar, I liked it last time, ran poorly. It's had a trial since and won. It's going to improve soon. Whether it's Saturday, I don't know, but 50 to 1 is overs for sure in a race like this. I mean, there's so many horses in this that are just like playoffs, like Corona Lad, like, I don't know. I'd be having something on that, on Maximilian Caesar. Pesto, I can't see doing much rise to it. Could be one that goes under my radar a little bit. The form's been a bit too erratic for me. From barrier 14, it will probably go forward, sit second, get a really good run. Probably will win, and I won't bet on it, but that's the thing. You've got to sort of make decisions. Flaming Romans, the form looks good, but it's really been in sort of low quality races, and I think it's stepping up against some big dogs here. So as much as I love the name, love the horse in general, and would like to bet on it, I really can't take the $8 that seriously. Whiskey on the Hill is an out-and-out horse that will go back and run on. That could be something for sort of that Lavazza Long Black on Melbourne Cup Day. Could go back from sit 10th and run on down the straight and win, but I don't know about tomorrow. So for me, I like the value of each way on Gold Wolf and Socino in a pretty poor race to start the day. And then a Quinella for 2 Gold Wolf, 4 Socino, 5 Denmark, 7 Maximilian Caesar, and 11 Waltham, another international, just over the odds. 5 starts, it's had 2 wins. You can't really knock that. It'll probably do nothing, but I think it's worth, in a race like this, it's worth throwing in some things that may propel you to a big Quinella or a big exotic in general. Yeah, I'll just be having a medium-sized start to the day in this one. All right, race 2. So 1600 meters, grade 78. This one, look, I'll start from the top. Shahzad's interesting. 9 starts, 3 wins, 3 placings. Good international form. I know it's resuming, but over the odds of 26. Nails Murphy, I didn't want to like this just because I sort of put it in that non-winner category. It was pretty tough last time, really. I have to say that is quite an impressive win. It could be one of those horses that sort of builds up to form, and then once it's got it, it sort of holds it. So I'd be actually sort of expecting that to run a place now. Piaggio's over the odds. I know that it's sort of not ideal second up, but 60 to 1 for a horse like that, I think is value, could do something. Regal Zeus, again, probably over the odds too. It's, done nothing wrong. First, second. Now it's 11. It's down in grade, up in weight. Yeah, that it's not a horse you'd really sort of pick out to bet on in a way, but yeah, good odds. La Zebra mixes form, not on dry, doesn't like dry. It'll probably be dry, so I'm leaning away. Marie, it's now up in grade. I'm not really sure. Garachico, 21 starts, 1 win, a few placings, not really. Almaric, if you look at that run at the Sunshine Coast, that blew them away. That was just in a different grade. So I think when it gets up to that 2200 meters sort of zone, it'll be a real force to contend with. It could do something. I mean, 1600 is not too short for it. It's won over that distance first up before. Ethan Brown's on, which is good. He rode it in its early prep last time. Japanese Emperor could throw in something, but getting down to what we really want to see, Federer, wow. The replay when it won by 6, incredible. Barrier 156. I mean, it's what people want on a day like this, a big favourite to get on early. It's probably a little bit too short, given that you just don't know what can happen in a race, and even if you look better on paper, it's still hard to go out and win. That being said, gee, it looked impressive. It wasn't fully pushed out. I know that there's a horse called Nadal at the moment, and I think that just looking at the colours, I'm like, oh, maybe they're from the same stable. So it's just so cool. It's a Federer and a Nadal going around at the same time. Yeah, so I won't babble on with this one each way or just the win on Federer. It'll probably win by 2. And then some Quinella with 1 Shahzad, 2 Nails Murphy, 9 Almaric, and 11 Federer, and the same for a trifecta. Let's hope that, I mean, if it loses and something else won, that the trifecta could pay well. And then some sort of first 4, Federer to win, and then those 3 for, you know what? Federer to win, those 3 for second, Field for third, and then those 3 for fourth. So if we don't get the trifecta, that might just spice up a first 4 for us. So do that and then continue on. All right, race 3 at Caulfield over the 1400 meters. I feel like this is a race where Sassy Boom and Lovers have been really good in these sort of races up to this point, but a few big hitters are now dropping in the form of Poifect and Quickster. Poifect raced in better races than this last prep and put away Sassy Boom by 3 lengths in one of those. So I think the 420 is really good value. Quickster ran in some good races last prep. I think along the same lines for that. I'm probably leaning more towards Sassy Boom between that and Labazoo, just because I think it's got more upside. Both of them ran well behind Fire of Edna, which I think had the right run on that day at Caulfield, but I'd be sort of leaning towards Sassy Boom to fill a placing. It's paying 5 compared to Labazoo, which is paying 420 anyway. Reaverport is a horse that could easily run into a place at 33 to 1. I can't really see why that is those odds when it's been running in Group 3 races last prep and close up behind good horses, whereas Matriarch Rose has been running in sort of 70 grade races and, you know, being close up, but, you know, it's way different story, and that's paying 7. I know there's a 5 kilo difference between them, which is quite a lot, but I wouldn't be going anywhere near Matriarch Rose. Anahita, not that keen. LMA, not that keen. So for me, it would be straightforward of each way on Poifect on, say, the Tab, each way on Quickster on, say, Sportsbet, or vice versa. And then a trifecta where you've got Poifect and Quickster to rove, and then as the other horses, you've got Sassy Boom, Labazoo, and Reaverport. And then a Quinella around 1 Sassy Boom, 6 Quickster, 3 Poifect, just a basic sort of one. I'd be keen to see what happens. I think Poifect will go to the lead and be too strong for them. I wouldn't be surprised if Quickster won, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see these sort of horses coming back, these classy horses coming back against some of these informed horses from the winter months. But yeah, just another race to get us sort of heated up for the bigger things to come. Okay, race 4 at Caulfield, the Jim Maloney Stakes, 1400 metres listed. So this one, Silmarillion broke the maiden last time. It was a good win, came off the pace, won. I don't know if it's the kind of horse that's going to win again. I feel like it might run another good second or third, that sort of vibe. Jenny's Meadow was really good last prep. I think it'll take steps this prep and be better. If it goes back and sits towards the end of the field, it might be one of those runs first up where it runs on well, sort of runs about 4th. Don't know if the $10 is value. I think it might be sort of better in the prep. Feminile. Now, I missed out on winning on this when it won at Morvettville. I liked it. I didn't bet on it. It was a mistake. But it came down the outside rail, ridden by Kayla Crowther, who was riding all these horses down the outside rail that day. It streamed over the top of them and paid $26, but I don't think you can read too much into that win. I think it was just in the right part of the track, so not really sure about that. Two Done Lizzie has been good, running in better races, Group 3s. I feel like coming down in grade today, it's going to go forward. Probably that will go to the lead. Probably Hurricane Georgie will, from barrier 10, have no other choice but to lead because it led so well last time and it was impressive. So those two will come across. There's a lot that will go back. So Two Done Lizzie I like. I think the form's good. I think the class is very suitable. Probably the one I like the most is Sakima. If you look at that recent run, I just keep coming back to the fact that it didn't really have clear room until the end. And it only ran 3rd, but when it did knuckle down, it looked really good. And I think that it just couldn't get clear. And being 4 runs into the prep now, I think that's at the perfect time for it to sort of be ready to win. So from barrier 7, I expect that. I hope that will sort of sit around 4th or 5th and get some sort of decent run and be able to come at them. I just think that that's better positioned in its preparation than some of the others of these. So I really like Sakima at $11. I think the value is really good. Some of these down the bottom, Declici Boulevard, Lilac, I just think they're coming up in class too much. Lilac does worry me because that's my thoughts of it, that it's, we've been running in these races in Sydney that aren't that good, these 64s and these maidens. But the fact that it's $4.80 makes me think that I'm missing something and that it'll probably come out and win quite well. So there's a question mark for me there that I'm sort of pulling the wrong rein on Lilac. But there's other ones, She Smashes, happy to overlook, Bedtime Angel, happy to overlook. Hurricane Georgie was really impressive winning at Sandown. The way that it booted clear and sort of didn't need to be ridden out. Initially, I didn't want to back it. I just thought it was not a great name, but $11 is pretty good. And if it's a race with not that much speed, and that sort of gets a good run up on the pace, could be good. So I'll do each way on Two Darn Lizzie, each way more on Sakima. That's my number one pick. And then I'll do a Quinella for 2, Jenny's Meadow, 4 Darn, 2 Darn Lizzie, 5 Sakima, 9 Hurricane Georgie. And then a standout Quinella with Silmarillion as the standout, and then Jenny's Meadow number 2, not 2 Darn Lizzie, because a Quinella with that and Silmarillion will pay nothing. So recapping, Silmarillion standout, 2 Jenny's Meadow, 5 Sakima, 9 Hurricane Georgie, and then a trifecta around 2, 4, 5 and 9 into 2, 4, 5 and 9 into 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, just for a bit of a roomier sort of crack at it. All right, race 5 at Caulfield, the Testarossa Stakes over 1400 metres listed. What a good horse Testarossa was, back from the old days racing against Redwood's Choice. Just want to briefly throw back to that earlier race with Federer. The breeding there, Done Deal out of Jamaica, that's astounding. Like, no wonder it's so good. So this race, this is the most interesting race in terms of all these different form lines converging. So Buffalo River, the 8-year-old, the out-and-out front-running horse that loves the wet. I mean, I couldn't possibly sort of take it on any logic, but it's there. Here to Shock loves Caulfield. That and Another Will seem to like racing against each other. Here to Shock really likes Caulfield. Another Will, it was a good win last time. I think that the $1.95 is way too short. Like, I'd be sort of thinking that those two are pretty evenly matched and they're evenly weighted. Here to Shock is what I'd ultimately like to be on in this race, but I'll sort of double back to that. So both of those horses have raced, funnily enough, in Group 1s interstate. They're both Victorian horses, but Here to Shock ran last in the Group 1 at Eagle Farm, and Another Will ran 7th behind Celestial Legend. So they're interesting. Run Harry Run. I really liked this when it ran nowhere a few starts ago, but its first prep was good. It won 3 in a row. Then it raced in better company. Coming back here, who knows? Like, that could, from barrier 10, could go back. It could run into 2nd or 3rd and pay $6 for the place. That's interesting. Light Infantry Man. It's got all this Group 1 sort of close-up in Group 1 races or in group races in general in England. Then it's come here and it's had 2 sort of lackluster runs in New South Wales. Don't know what to make of that at all. You've got Bermudez, first up specialist, so many wins first up. It's like 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. Quality horse paying $71. Like, that's crazy. Like, the value there is insane. Jump on that for the place right away, like right now. I will be. Jimmy the Bear. Funnily enough, I feel like it's sort of coming to the end of its tether a bit, and it's now we're sort of starting to see some better horses come back into their work. But in another way, I think it could be its last sort of chance to win before the spring is out. The better horses will swamp it eventually, but it could be really cherry ripe for this in terms of fitness. So the 850 actually isn't too bad. Showmanship, still, it's 5 from 5 on good tracks. Still, like, it's been scratched so many times. It had that win last time at 20-1, which was great. 20-1 again. My goodness, like, really. Craig had a great win last time. Now it's up in grade, racing against some more serious horses. You can't knock the form. Barrier 2, 550. And then Wishlaw Lass. It's been racing in such good races recently. And I mean, $17 $17 for a horse that a few starts ago was 4 lengths behind Pride of Jenny. I mean, what are we talking here? Like, I think that that's a really serious customer. It's had trial wins. So this is a very difficult race. I am just so intrigued as to how this will play out. I think you could make a case for anything, theoretically. What I would do is I would have something on Here to Shock, basically because it loves Caulfield, and I feel like it'll improve second up. It might get, the barrier is a little bit of a concern, but by the same token, Another Will might not benefit as much from barrier 1 as it might be imagined. So Here to Shock each way, something each way on Bermudez just because of the crazy odds, and then Wishlaw Lass each way. I definitely like that. I think that's crazy odds at 17. And then Quinellas and Trifectas around 2, 3, 6 and 10. But then in one of them, I want to find a spot for Run, Harry, Run. So maybe a bigger trifecta, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 10. But yeah, this one, Another Will could win, and you know, like Craig might run a placing, Here to Shock might run a placing, and that might be a very basic trifecta that pays like $50. Or it could be something like Wishlaw Lass wins, Buffalo River comes second, and like Bermudez or Light Infantry Man runs in third, and the whole thing pays a skyrocket price. So let's see. But yeah, wow, what an intersection of form lines. Okay, race 6 at Caulfield, the Tour de Horse Sprint. I love what they've done there. 1,100 meters, grade 100. This is a good betting race. I feel like there's value and there's horses that are not value. So I don't particularly, it's one of those ones where where you sort of do the form and you just think, I don't really like this race for me. Like, I don't feel like I'm going to be lucky. Just too many horses that I just wouldn't normally bet on, or hard to line up, or whatnot. Where to begin? So the Inferno, it's been running in such good company. Like all those Group 1s behind Imperatriz, like I know it's 8 years old. I know it's 8 years old now, but it's still a good horse. It might not have the exact acceleration it had a few years ago. I mean, it still is 3 years since it won, but gee, this is so winnable. Like, it ran a really good placing recently in a Group 3, and this isn't even a listed race. Like, the class drop is pretty phenomenal, and it's only got 3 kilos more than some of these horses. I know the ones down the bottom, it's giving 6, but to some of the sort of better credential ones, it's only giving 3. So I really like that at $14. I think that it's such a winnable race for it, and it can run at Caulfield. It's our time. 9 starts here for 7 placings. I mean, that's pretty, you don't see that every day. Good value at $12. Can't write that off, and it's drawn really well. Barrier 3, ridden by Damien Lane. Von Hawk, mixing form a bit. I still think it probably wants a bit longer distance than this. 1,100 might be too short. Barrier 11, I won't be jumping on. It could win. Menemonth, I mean, 30-1. It's good value. Like, it wasn't that long ago that it was winning a decent race at Flemington, and probably paying well there. That was a listed race, 10-1, and it beat It's Our Time. I don't know. I feel like it's a bit up and down. It's good at the distance. It's had one run here and a bit unplaced, so I'll sort of leave it. Ashford Street, I can't really get enthused about. Chinny Boom, it's a horse I like, good name, but often the Brisbane form doesn't stack up unless you're sort of like a Spirit of Boom or a Terry Golan sprinter. So I just think the 440 is way too short. Crosshaven mixes form, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't like Caulfield that much. No, 13 starts for 2 wins in a placing here. Jimmy Star, I think, is value because it ran in some really good races last campaign. It was unlucky. It was favoured a lot of times, didn't get a great run, so it didn't deliver. That's all done. It's first up now. It does like Caulfield. 550, I think, is good value. Len Picker, it's a horse I like. It's a name I like. I just don't know in this grade. Jungle Jim, again, also a name I really like. I love the alliteration, love the J's, love the colours. It should like Caulfield. It's a leader. Hasn't really had a great track record here, and it likes Flemington better. I'm not really sure why. And I think the $14 is value. If it goes to the lead, it could be hard to run down. So that's something. Commemorative, yeah, I can see why it's favourite. It's been running in some good group races and it's probably sort of ready for this or set for this, or it's had a good trial as well. It's running Group 3 in Randwick. I just don't know. Like, often these, it used to be always a thing on Caulfield Cup Day, there'd be like a race 5 where there'd sort of be some out of form good horses and it would always be won by a Sydney horse. I remember Boban came down one year and won that race. This could be a similar thing for commemorative. It might be like the right race for it and I just might be out of touch. Still, I think the $4 is short, and Ray Magnerio, yeah, definitely in with a chance at 7. So for me, it's one to avoid a little bit. I'll be having something each way on the Inferno, just out of sort of either some logic or just sentimentality, either one. And It's Our Time, I think, is a decent chance. So each way the Inferno, each way Jimmy Star, they'll be my 2. And then I'll do a Quinella and trifecta, both of those around 1, the Inferno, 2, It's Our Time, 8 Jimmy Star, and 10 Jungle Jim, just for a bit of sentimentality. What else? And yeah, I'm keen to see how commemorative runs, keen to see what Chinny Boom delivers, and keen to see if any of those other ones do anything. Ho, 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 what an interesting one this is. So Foundation Cup 2000 metres Group 3. This is great. This is like a mini cup. This is probably 4 or 5 horses really vying for it against each other. I think there's a lot here that you can just rule out, but probably something out of this ruck will run into a place at big odds. So whenever these races roll around, they roll out Francesco Guardi at 50 or 100 to 1. They do the same with La Donde V. Banker's Choice is always there at 30 to 1. All these horses that are just no good on paper, no good at all. Even though La Donde V did win at 80 to 1 recently, just far out. I don't know how they qualify for races like this. But there's a bunch of those. Ahmad, certainly in that category. So where to begin? A lot of these horses are really in the market because of how good they looked last start without doing anything. So St. George was just so ready to go and was stuck behind that wall of horses and it had just no run. So I can see why it's 420 in this barrier to 54 kilos. Immediacy was really good in its for like its last prep. Had those wins. Then went up to Group 1 class and had a few fifths, one behind Riff Rocket. So you can't knock that. Positivity was good last time. I can see why it's 11. Barrier 3 is good. The map, it's had good staying form in Adelaide. Now it's got to come across and deliver in Melbourne. I don't think it will. I think it'll sort of be a bit one-paced and sort of be maybe around the 5th, 6th mark. Akita Sushi, I bet on it last time. I liked it. I don't know. Future History, really liked it last time. It was crazy odds, 50 to 1. Now it's 12. I'm sure it will run well again. Gear Up I liked last time. I think it was suited that race. I don't know about this. Fancy Man we can chuck in that category of sort of those battler horses. Just Fine. That ran in really good races in Sydney. That's had 2 starts in. That's going to be ready to fire. And K Tempesta was really, that was just leaping out of its skin to run into 5th last time. The weight is an issue. It's giving 5 kilos to some of those horses down the bottom, but gee, it was almost the best of those run on, those horses that were in that 3rd to 6th belt was probably the best of them. It's got some really good staying form in Italy, so that's quite up there. So for me, it's like those 4 horses, 1 K Tempesta, 2 Just Fine, 15 St. George, 16 Immediacy. They're the ones we're all watching from sort of like a cups perspective and for a long distance perspective. I think that even though St. George had nowhere to go last time, we still don't know what he would have given. And he ran 8th. I almost feel like he will benefit from a couple more runs before he really hits top gear, whereas I feel like he's favourite. But something like Immediacy or K Tempesta might actually win this at the longer odds of the 5 or the 7. So I'll have each way on K Tempesta, each way on Immediacy, and then Quinella's 1, 2, 15, 16. Trifecta 1 to 11, 15, 16. I'm leaving out Positivity. I don't really want to do that. There's other horses here, like look at Penny Wecker, number 6, 80 to 1. That's a back-to-back Group 1 winner from New Zealand. Like, if that just runs well, my stars, I mean, the value that you'll get. So this race is full of interesting stories that could eventuate. but I have to go on what I've seen. Although looking at it now, Just Fine probably is really good value considering the races that's running, and why am I taking an Italian horse with 59 kilos? But, you know, I've said it, so I'll stick with those. But yeah, what a good race this is. It'll all depend on how the track's playing too, so make sure with Caulfield too, in the early races, look at which way the wind's blowing. Are they leading? Are they having to sit about 5th or 6th off the speed and coming and winning? Can horses from the back make ground? For me, there's a lot of back markers that I happen to like in this program, so I'll be very keen to see. Because if they can't make ground, it sort of rules out Gold Wolf. It sort of rules out, there was a few, I think, in the early races that were like definite run-ons. So just, yeah, be careful. If it's a leaders track, if it's a super leaders track, it makes things easy. There's a bunch of horses we can just rule out and go leader, leader, leader. So always pay attention, but yeah, what a good race this is. All right, the main event, the Underwood Stakes, race 8, Group 1, 1800 meters. This I don't like whatsoever. I just feel like it's a ragtag bunch of horses. Even the favourites, like Place to Carousel's 460, second favourite pretty much. And I don't know, the form's up and down. Like that was the first one that jumped out to me when I read the field. So I feel like I will have something each way because I can't really make a case for much else, but it's sort of with a bit of antipathy. Pericles, yes, it was great last start. It kicked away and won easily, and the wall did come, but I think they sort of stopped riding it to a degree. Gee, I mean, it's $3, but like, this is a Group 1, and I know it's run before over 1400 behind Mr. Brightside and been not far away, but being not far away isn't the same as winning. And barrier 11, Group 1, level weights with some of these horses. I think the $3 is very deceptive, so I'll be staying. Part of me wants to take it because there's just nothing really else that actually makes it look good. But part of me just says, no, this will lose. So the Spring of Vow and Declare could be on. Has had some good runs recently. It did run second over this distance at Caulfield in February behind Campionessa. It's paying 34. There's something to be said for that. Monument has been in good form. Doesn't really like Caulfield. All these other ones, Huaytor, Bois d'Argent, I can't really like. Interstaters, big odds. They'll probably run into a place, one of them. I think that I'm sort of left with Buckaroo. It's been close up in good races behind good horses, and this is very winnable, and it's Chris Waller trained, Joe Moreira ridden. That counts for a lot too. So I'm landing on that. I think Faulkner Park's Way, I think that should be more than 750. That's I don't think that'll do anything. Coco Sun, I'd love to. I see someone's jumped on Coco Sun with an early tote bet. I love that. Love that certainty. I'm just not sure whether it's that prudent tomorrow, but I did bet on that horse last start. It's a horse I like. So for me, I'll do each way Buckaroo, each way Place to Carousel. This is a second to last promo back on Sportsbet, so you can afford to have a bit of a big play on something. In terms of exotics, I feel like there'll be some crazy priced horse will run into a placing here. So I don't even want to just, do a trifecta around the favoured runners. I want to allow some room for something crazy like a Deny Knowledge or a Knight's Choice or just something out of the ordinary to get into a placing. Even Munamek could sort of run a placing and pay $5. So I would be thinking, yeah, it's actually like, I was looking at it and thinking, what do I even do here? Probably Field, and then those two that I liked, Buckaroo and Place to Carousel for second. And then those two that I liked for second, plus Vow and Declare, Pericles, let's just even say Coco Sun for the thrill of it for third. And then we'll just do that, and then we'll do another one where it's the two I like, Place to Carousel and Buckaroo to win, Field for second, and then those same horses for third. So split that up yourself, whichever way you like, because I think this could be a race where you get some big dividends. All right, the second last race, the Caulfield Guineas Prelude, Group 3 over 400 metres. This is excellent, simply excellent. So depth of character ran on in its runs. If you look at that first race, it came from last. If you look at that recent race it's win, it's third start, which was a win up in Queensland. It made up insane ground from back in the field. on a day where a lot of other horses weren't. So that's a really good horse. The thing is that this race is not a lot of speed. So unless Wanneroo or Feroce set some breakneck speed, I just don't know how it's going to go back to last and sort of run on against some really good horses and some really good horses that also like to run on. So Sergeant Major ran on really well for third last time behind Angel Capital and Bazusto. And Sergeant Major and Epimels collided and almost knocked each other down, which is crazy. And Sergeant Major ran on well into third after that, and Epimels didn't really recover, but it still was running on well. So I feel like that won its first two, then it had that. We didn't get to see the best of it, and it's now paying $8.50. It's probably quite good value. So I think Angel Capital and Bazusto are under the odds a little bit. I can't really... I know that Wanneroo is the favourite, but I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not convinced. So I'm gonna leave that. Red Aces, I think that was just a pretty hacking race. Private Life ran behind Lilac. Sorry, it beat Lilac. Lilac ran behind it. And I didn't really know what to make of Lilac in the early race, and I don't know really what to make of this now. So I feel like they could be two horses that I just should bet on because of this weird sort of feeling. So in this race, I'll have something each way on Epimels because we didn't really get to see the best of it last time. Something each way on Depth of Character just because I like it as a horse. I think it's going places. And then Quinellas. I actually know each way on Sergeant Major as well, or just bonus bets on it. Great New Zealand form, ran on really well last time, can't discount that. So each way basically on 1, 3, and 12. I know it's going a bit crazy. And then Quinellas and trifectas around 1, 3, 10 and 12. I'll throw in Private Life. It's also a good name. And it's a good reference to the play by Noel Coward. So let's, and it's got Joe Moreira on board as too, and also trained by Chris Wallace. So again, what's not to like? So 1, 3, 10, 12. And then a trifecta with the Roving Banker, 1 Depth of Character, and 12 Sergeant Major, with the field to Rove. And then another trifecta, 3 Epimels, 10 Private Life, field to Rove, just for something extra. All right, last race at Caulfield, race number 10. This is a nightmare scenario. There's just so many horses that could win. This is just so open. A lot of horses first up. 1,200 meters. A lot of them dropping down in grade as well. So I think you could make a case for almost anything. I think number 1, Sione, over the odds, very good horse, 20-1. The same for Eternal Flame. It's running good races. It beat Rumbled again. It beat ran behind Zugotcha in a Group 1 at Randwick. Serious horse. So Eternal Flame, Revolutionary Miss loves Caulfield. 6 starts here, 3 wins and a placing. Red Card's the favourite, but it's had 2 starts at Caulfield for nothing. Not sure about that. Comrade Rose is down in grade. Group 3 last time, Group 1 before that. That's really over the odds at 15. So I like 1, 2, 3, 5, and then also 17, Kundalini. The form really is quite good. It won at Sale. Before that, it ran behind Herbert Park. Ran 4th in a listed race at Randwick behind Arctic Glamour, a horse I really like. It's number 17 down in the weights. So Quinellas and trifectas 1, 2, 3, 5, 17. By this point, there should be so many bonus bets accrued that I could have some win bets on these horses at bigger odds. So that's what I'll be doing. If you're doing quaddies, I'll be doing a quaddie. This will 100% be field, guaranteed. Like I won't even try and sort of, unless I just tried to do 1, 2, 3, 5, and 17 and hoped and prayed, but otherwise it's an ideal field race. And then you can sort of go narrower in race 9. Race 8, you could just take a punt on like Pericles, Place to Carousel, and Buckaroo, or you could take the field. And then race 7, it's not easy either. I would still try and go 1 or 2 out in sort of race 7 and race 9, and then leave sort of race 8 and 10 for the field. But race 10's definitely a field leg, and then sort of massage the others or work the others out. So that does Caulfield. On to Sydney, and yeah, okay, so that's Caulfield done. Okay, so that does it for Caulfield. So not a lot of dollars left. I'm just gonna have a quick, like a cursory look at Sydney. Race 2, backed Crayon recently, and it didn't win that day, but I feel like it's had the wins since. It's a race where She's Exotic has come off two like quite dominant wins, but I feel like it's a evenish race. Like there's a lot of horses that are sort of coming off good wins. Saratoga Power as well. Perennial was in good form last preparation. So for me here, just like a win bet on Creon. Just I think it's one of the better credentialed of those winners. Race 3. I didn't actually have anything here. I considered Bear on the Loose, but then I just thought, wasn't sure in the end. Moving on to race 4. This was, again, like a pretty open race. I just wanted to have something on Pure Alpha. I feel like its runs last prep were good. Kieran McAvoy's on, Chris Waller trained. I thought the $5.50 was quite good value. Get Along was also 4 runs into its prep. It was like a solid thing, but I just wanted to have something on Pure Alpha. And then in race 5, I just thought, I mean, this is this is pretty crazy, but I did think that El Bodegon, I don't know whether it's just curiosity or insanity, but 150 to 1, I mean, it's been running terribly, but it has been running in good quality races. Group 1s mostly, Group 2s, Group 3s. This is a Group 3, and it isn't even a strong Group 3. Well, it sort of is actually with Zarek and Elias, but El Bodegon no one's going to be paying attention to it. None of the other horses are really going to be tracking it in the race. It could just run into a place. And at 150 to 1 and $28, I mean, if nothing else, it's a bit of fun. So $1 the place on that. And $1 the win on Valiant King. I feel like it'll come back better this prep. It was good last prep. Paying 26, I think, is a bit over the odds. I'm not a huge rap for Cheo Wolf, and Barrier 13 doesn't enthuse me either. And the $3.30 I just think is no value. So those bets at Randwick. There are some good races after that, but I'll just leave that for the 50, as in the 50s mostly spread across Caulfield and these few races here, and then we can just see what unfolds in the rest of the races at Randwick. So that's the racing covered. AFL, it's another scenario where we've only got 2 games, and the promos on the Friday with Sportsbet, same game multi, money back if you miss any legs. So that's the way to go. So in this case, I'm just going to do a 6-leg multi. I've sort of picked some players I think might perform. So Goulden for 20 touches, Heaney for 20 touches, Wines for 20 touches, Papley for a goal, Luke Parker for a goal, and for a bit of a Port wild card, I was thinking of Dixon. He was just so slow looking against Hawthorn, but the SAG might suit him better, but I'll go with Darcy Byrne-Jones. So no Dixon, Darcy Byrne-Jones. So to recap, Goulden for 20, Heaney for 20, Wines for 20, Papley for 1 or more, Parker for 1 or more, Darcy Byrne-Jones for 1 or more. So that wraps up everything. Really good meeting at Caulfield. I've probably overcapitalized a bit too much there. The balance should have been a bit more with Randwick, but I do like the races there, so happy to do that. And yeah, it's going to be a great day. Good luck to you. See how you go. Let's see what the track pattern is like at Caulfield. It's been a while since it's been like a real big front-running, leader-oriented track, so I'm always cautious that might be what's going to unfold, but it'll be interesting. And Saturday night with the Lions, I think that it's going to be all systems go for another grand final, and by 30 or more. So let's see how it unfolds. Good luck this weekend.
And then came Sweet Liaison as they turned for home. Jefferson, he's been in front every inch of the way. He's out like 2.